I possess a sophisticated vocabulary discography that is beyond Einsteinian, spent and never ending. There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been a strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life. I'm nurtured by the false notion or motion that plutocracy means that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. A porridge, a prolege. Reality exists in the human mind, rhyme, and nowhere else. Spitting raps on the shelf. Artist to my mind. Rhyme are the real architects of change. Away goes to arrange, deranged, and not political legislators who implement change after the fact. Rap. It's my paranoia, dementia, schizophrenia, and getting completely out of hand, or are you mongoloids really talking about me? Rapping never endingly, relentlessly. Some ideas are so stupid that only intellectuals believe them. Rhythm anthem. If only everyone could know and live with their inner craziness, madness. Would the world be a worse place for it? Spitter, rap it. And no people would be fairer and happier. Rap rhymer, a dreamer forever. Never stop spitting forever and ever. To force oneself to believe and to accept a thing without understanding. Rapping and their ending is that political and not spiritual or intellectual. Rapping a spit of the absurdity. Absurdity is the ecstasy of intellectualism. Rap 'em a spit 'em a spat 'em. Misfortunes make us wise. Rhyme. The known is infinite, the unknown infinite. Intellectually we stand, ram, bam, on an islet in the midst of an illimitable ocean of inexplicability. Our busyness, rapid, relentless, obsessed with in every regeneration, equation, invasion, is to reclaim a little more land. Wham, bam, thank you, man. To add something to the extent, rapping a spit and a spat, and the solidity of our possessions, rapping a spit and a spat, and rapping, and even a cursory glance at the history, rapping never endingly for all eternity, infinity, never endingly of the biological sciences. Spent in appliances during the last quarter of a century is sufficient to justify the assertion. Rapping a spit and a spurt and a hurt. My brain is a hurting at the most potent instrument for the extension of the realm of natural knowledge, spent in a prolege, which has come into men's hands. And thank you, man, since the publication of Newton's Principia is Darwin's origin of species, rapping never endingly for all of eternity, infinity. If we are not prepared to spell out clearly the content of our thinking, or to name undisputedly the quality of a cold hard facts, rap, and we deserve to be disentitled intellectually, even if the world goes down. Turn that frown upside down, bow wow, meow, how not, brown cow. My mobile will save me. My mobile will save me, rapping their enemy through their intellectual disability or mental illiteracy. Some cannot free themselves from the imprisonment, rapid resentment of irrevocable idiocy, and feel condemned, rapping to spit them to find gratifying compensation by extracting the vilest qualities from the deep quarters of her dark self, rapping a spit and raps in the shelf, ugly mug, offense, rapping a hence. The most dangerous thing about an academic education, equation, annihilation, invasion is that it enables my tendency to over-intellectualize stuff, over double the stuff, to get lost in abstract thinking instead of simply paying attention to what's going on in front of me. Spent monopoly, floppity, sloppity for all eternity. You make all the fashion statements just by dressing up your mind. Rhyme, all day and all night, and night for the captains of my mind. Thus, from the war of nature, from famine, and death, the most exalted object which we are capable of conceiving, namely the production of the higher animals, directly follows there as a grandeur, rapper forever, in this view of life, rhyme with its several powers, rapper forever. I got the power, rapper forever, have been originally breathed into a few forms, or into one in that whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, rapid relativity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. But standing tall, there is a grandeur in this view of life with its several powers, rapper forever, having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one, in that, and whilst this planet has gone cycling and according and to the fixed law of gravity, relativity from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful, artificial, and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. One general law leading to the advancement of all organic beings, namely, multiply, vary, let the strongest live and the weakest die. Man selects only for his own good, nature only for that of the being which she tends, rapping again and again, if it could be demonstrated, rapping again and again, expressed that any complex organ existed, spit it, I spat it, a never ending, which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive, rapid, relentless, obsessed with slight modifications by fury, would absolutely break down. Meow. But I can find no such case. Rapping away goes today. I see no good reasons why the views given in this volume should shock the religious views of anyone. Nothing is easier than to admit, spit in words the truth of the universal struggle, razzle a dazzle for life or more difficult. At least I have found it so. Then constantly to bear this conclusion of mine. Ram all day and all night. Here it goes inside of my mind. There's up editing all day and all night. But the sun itself, however benefits it, generally, rapidly, was less kind to Coketown than hard frost, and rarely looked intently into any of its closer regions without engendering more death and life. So does the eye of heaven itself become an evil eye, when incapable or sordid hands, thank you, man, or interpose between it and the thing it looks upon, does to bless, rapid spit in a mess. A fourth industrial revelation, my eye, we haven't yet recovered from the disparities produced by the first, it hurts, a second and third industrial revolutions, revelation equation. Morons keep peddling cold and pompous dreams devoid of humanity. They're and spit into thee, and morons keep consuming them like a good little backboneless vermin, wrapping their end and grow a backbone already, spitting karate. We always look at the glorious aspects of industrialization, annihilation equation, overlook all those countless lives that are ruined by a spit it, I spat it, but it's okay as long as we are not struck by a catastrophe ourselves, wrapping a spit in the wraps in the shelf. Our sleep of moronity never breaks a tweak. Away goes the day, so long as our comfort is unchallenged and enhanced. Rather, it's okay if millions keep falling through the cracks. Rap. There's a spat. Never is a chat GPT is like the Industrial Revolution. During the Industrial Revelation, many people lost their jobs, but machines helped to produce things faster. Similarly, if chat GPT is free forever, rapper, many people will lose jobs, but productivity will manifold. Where raps will behold. Span no. Here it goes inside my head. There's up rapping again and again, and never endingly. I said, recognize that the very molecules that make up your body, rap karate, the ice demon inside me. I don't know what you leave me near, my darling. The atoms that construct the molecules are traceable to crucibles that were once the centers of high mass stars, spitting a rap out from afar. That exploded there chemically, rich gusts into the galaxy, enriched in pristine gas clouds with the chemistry of life, so that we are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. That's kind of cool. I rule and you drool. That makes me smile, and I actually feel quite large at the end of that. I spat in the da. It's not that we are better than the universe hurts. We are part of the universe hurts. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. Bus. Us. Every atom in your body came from a star that exploded. Exploited, and the atoms in your left hand probably rapidly, never-endingly, infinity for eternity. It came from a different star from afar than your right hand. Wham, thank you, man. It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. Rapping a spit it. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if the stars hadn't exploded, been loaded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution and for life, weren't created at the beginning of time. They were created in the nuclear furnaces of stars from afar. And the only way for them to get into your body is if those stars were kind enough to explode. Well, there if I go. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Away goes today. If the stars should appear one night in a 1,000 years, spending all these years and drinking these beers, a doe of a deer, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God, which had been shown, but every night come out these envoys of beauty, light the universe with their admonishing smile. For spitting for a while. The time will come when diligent research spitting haven't you heard over long periods rhyming a spitting that will bring to light these things which now lie hidden. A single lifetime rhyme, even though entirely devoted to the sky, rhyming all night would not be enough for the investigation of so vast a subject. Spitting a spat. There will be. And so this knowledge will be unfolded only through a long successive ages, rapping for the ages, all these pages, freestyle all these pages for the ages. There will come a time when our descendants will be amazed that we did not know things that are so plain to them. Spitting rhythm and for many discoveries are reserved for ages still to come. Kingdom will come when memory of us will have been effaced. Rapping away goes today, spent all night and all day. It goes inside of my head, rapid and spent, never end, and I said again and again, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love from above. A dove. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. Those who do not move, do not notice their chains. Away goes today, rapping all night and all day. I do not feel obliged to believe that of the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use, spit, and abuse of the most loving parents and relatives commit murder with smiles on their faces. They force us to destroy the person we really are from afar, a subtle kind of murder. Rapper forever, spitter or spatter. Here it goes inside of my head, spitting, never ending again and again. Inside of my head, rapping, never end if I said. Inside of my head, rap if never ending again. Oh my God, make it stop if I said. Evolving a widely reused a resource also requires coordination because changes or arranges must be compatible with all existing systems or users. Such coordination can slow down innovation. Some digital companies rapping floppity have even begun to explicitly favor a duplication equation because their busyness environment rewards economies of speed. Rapping indeed, despite being roughly twice as many characters, rapper forever. I got the power. It requires a fraction of the mental effort when you read it. Spit it, I spat it, I speed it. I'll never end and I'll lead it. Even if the ecosystem doesn't change, arrange. What about the gradual erosion of architectural characteristic that occurs? Architects rapping a spat, design architectures, rapper a spitter, but then expose them to the messy real world and spins and whirls and swirls and twirls of implementing things atop the architecture. How can architects protect the important parts that have defined rhyme? By placing an external tool or a framework at the heart of the architecture. Rapper forever. I got the power. Developers severely restrict their ability to evolve into key ways. Away goes today, both technically and from a busyness process standpoint. Away, developers and technically constrained by choices of voices the vendor makes in terms of persistence, supported and fracture, scripture, and a host of their constraints. Rapping away goes today. The simplicity only makes sense in context. If I'm spitting a parser with a team that understands parsers, generators, rapper, I got the power forever, wherever rapper stops rapping, never, I got the power. Then using a parsers, a generator is simple, razzle dazzle, purple snapple. If the team doesn't know anything about a parsing, and when language is simple, a purple, a snapple, a recursive, a descent, parser is simpler, rapper forever, never ender. And they're spitting a method or a controller that retrospects, offsets in turn, or spitting, a writing, a reading, hashed, object-based, a storage, and a litho, a stack wrap. The Helen and a controller that hard copies object. A storage van stick is basic MVC, infinitely spit into the, as it follows operating systems principles to the core, spitting forever a more all race conditions and deadlock conditions and concurrent update problems are due to multiple variables, span, blah, 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 probable, a business are frequently prioritized, RAM, new feature releases over fixing technical debt, rapid respect and a spec. They choose to work on revenue generating work instead of revenue protection work. Haven't you heard this rarely works out as the business hopes. Whoa, and this is dope. Scientifically dope. Well, there if I go, particularly as problems discovered during the final stages of uncompleted projects drag engineers away from the newer projects. Spanish spat. Software is easy to make except when you want it to do something new. Few. And then, of course, there is a corollary. The only software that's worth making is software that does something new, spit into you, never ending to get a clue. Inside every large program is a small program struggling to get out. Shouting at pop. Engineering is a profession that can do the job of almost all other professions. Rapping never ending, forever and ever. Stops rapping never. Programming is the immediate act of producing code. Well, verify goes. For software engineering is a set of policies, practices, and tools that are necessary to make that code useful. Spitting a dough for as long as it needs to be used, and allowing collaboration across a team. Spitting never ending. It seems. The moral is this: do not underestimate the power of playing a social game. Away goes the it's not about tricking or manipulating people. Purple stample, chisel, my nizzle, bedazzle. It's about creating relationships to get things done. Bum, 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 bum. Relationship always outlasts projects. Spat it. When you've got richer relationships with your coworkers, never stop rapper, a rapper forever, they'll be more willing to go the extra mile when you need them. Spin them a rhythm, a anthem. Spin them a spat them forever. There's a spin never ending forever. Forever a spitter of forever. Never say never for the forever rapper. A spit genius forever. There's a fine line between genius and insanity. I have a race to slime, rhyme. No great mind has ever existed without a touch of madness, relentless spittus. It takes a lot more. It takes a lot of time to be a genius from Venus. You have to sit around so much doing nothing, really doing nothing, rapping or ending. Genius is nothing more nor less than a childhood recaptured at will. Span that ill. Mediocrity knows nothing higher than himself, wraps in himself, but talent instantly recognizes genius from Venus. Any intelligent fool, span I rule and you drill, can make things bigger, more complex, rapping a mess, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius from Venus and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. Spitting a spatin. The true genius shudders at incompleteness and perfection, and usually prefers a silence to saying that something which is not everything that should be said, rapping again and again. I'm a misunderstood genius. Jesus rhymes with genius. What's misunderstood? Nobody thinks I'm a genius. Jesus rhymes with genius. I'm from Venus. The only genius that's worth anything is the genius for hard work. The public is wonderfully tolerant and forgives everything except genius. Jesus rhymes with genius. From Venus. A truly creative mind. Rhyme is in any field is no more than this. A rap and a spit. This human creature, but abnormally and humanly sensitive, a perspective. To him, a touch is a blow. Whoa, there if I go. A sound is a noise. A boy. A misfortune is a tragedy. Monopoly. A joy is an ecstasy. A friend is a lover. A rapper forever. I've got the power. A lover is a god, and failure is death. Hence the meth. And add to this. Cruelly, a delicate organism, anti-substitutarianism, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious of overpowering a necessity to create. So that rap, without the creating of music or poetry or books or buildings or something of that meaning, rapping never ending, his very breath is cut off from him, rapping never ending again. He must create. Away goes the day must pour out a creation, annihilation, invasion by some strange unknown inward urgency is not he is not really alive, rhyme, unless he is creating, rapping never ending for all eternity. But the fact that some geniuses were laughed at does not imply that all who are laughed at are geniuses. Jesus rhymes a genius. They laughed at Columbus, they laughed at Fulton, they laughed at the Wright brothers, but they also laughed at Bozo the Clown. Turn that frown upside down. How not brown cow? Persistence, perfection, patience, power. Prioritize your passion. It keeps you sane. Away goes today. When you make a choice, you change the future. To forgive is wisdom. To forget is genius and easier because it's true. It's a new world. Every heartbeat, a D to the new tweetle a D. When a great genius appears in the world, you may know him by the sign that the dunces are all in confederacy against him. When a great genius appears in the world, you may know him by the sign that the dunces all around the block are all in confederacy against him. River my anthem because talent is ingenious and no amount of energy can make it so. Well, there if I go, I want to be great or nothing, rapping or ending. Neither a lofty degree or intelligence, neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor imagination or both together, rapper forever, go to the making of a genius. Love, 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 that is a soul of a genius. Jesus rhymes a genius. I'm a genius from Venus. A color is my day-long obsession, a passion, joy, and torment. Spend I spat it. Beauty is a form of genius is higher indeed than genius as it needs no explanation. It is one of the great facts of the world, like sunlight and our springtime, or a reflection in the dark waters of that silver shell we call the moon. Well, there if I go a buffoon, it cannot be questioned, rapping their end, and it has divine right of sovereignty. It makes princes of those who have it. Spit it, I rap it. I was walking among the fires of hell, delighted with the enjoyments of genius. Jesus rhymes a genius, in which two angels look like a torment and insanity. Rapping their enemy, a genius is the wrong position. Could look like a fool, a rule and you drool. Never underestimate the power of thought. It is the greatest path to discovery. Rapping their enemy for all of eternity, infinity. I want to be a genius. I have enough problems just trying to be a man. Wham bam, thank you, man. The most tragic thing in the world is a man of genius who is not a man of honor. Rapper, I got the power. Stop rapping never, forever and ever. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The most sophisticated people I know inside are all children rapping their ending. There is a time in life of every boy, ahoy, adoy, when he, for the first time, takes the backward view of life. Rhyme. Perhaps that is the moment when he crosses the line, rhyme, and into manhood. The boy is walking through the street of his town. Turn that frown upside down. How not brown cow? Bow wow 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 meow. Is that he is thinking of the future. Rapper power of the future. He will cut into the world of spins and swirls and twirls. Ambitions and regrets awake within him. Suddenly something happens. He stops under a tree and waits. As for a voice calling his name, a ghost of old things creep into his consciousness. I'm obsessed with. The voices outside of himself whisper a message concerning the limitations of life. Rhyme from being quite unsure of himself and his future. He becomes not at all sure. Rapping, haven't you heard? If he be an imaginative boy, a door is torn open, and for the first time he looks out upon the world, seeing, rapping their ending as though they march in procession before him. Rhythm anthem, the countless figures of men who before his time have come out of nothingness into the world, spins in the worlds and swirls and twirls, lived their lives, and again disappeared into nothingness. Sadness of sophistication has come to the boy, ahoy, arg, spent from afar, with a little gasp. With a little gasp, he sees himself as merely a leaf blown by the wind through the streets of the village, pillage. He knows that, in spite of all the stout talk of his fellows, he must live and die in uncertainty. Rapid monopoly sloppy, a thing blown by the winds, a thing destined like corn to wilt in the sun. Under the dumb. The best way to measure the loss of intellectual sophistication, this nerdification, to put it bluntly, rapping never-endingly for all eternity, infinity is in the growing disappearance of sarcasm, as mechanic minds rhyme that take insults a bit too literally, never-endingly spit into thee. He thinks himself rather an exceptional young man. Thank you, man. Thoroughly sophisticated, well adjusted to his environment, spit spat, torment, and somewhat more significant than anyone else he knows. Well, there if I go. They became more sophisticated. They became sophisticated in a way that she wasn't in a way she'd never be, because sophistication is either your first language or you always have an accent and it. Spit it, I rap it, and the audience was far different from that healthy, joyous front at the Christmas pantomime. Spitting rhyme. The theater was full, but there were no children rapping their end. And the onlookers were mostly of the unwholesome men about town type rhyme, of a type of rhyme that is known as sophisticated as those poor, haunted, complex ridden people who have never found a gateway that leads to the crystal sunlight of simplicity, rapping relentlessly for all of eternity infinity. Sensuality is the ultimate sophistication, rapping equation, a reading of the facts of ethnology and culture history proves plainly that maxima of culture have frequently been reached in low levels of sophistication, that minima of culture have been plumbed in some of the highest of civilization, rapping equation, invasion, annihilation as a whole moves on. Culture comes and goes. Well, there if I go. Spent notes into my phone. They were not hired there for their looks or their sophistication equation. The most competent one specialized in puzzles, razzle-dazzle, bedazzle, music and foreign languages, equations. There goes inside of my head to spitting and rapping again. Never ending, I said. Never stop spitting and rapping again inside of my head. I want to stop if I said spitting and rapping again inside of my head. There it goes, speaking and spatting again. Excuse my enthusiasm, or rather, madness, for I am really drunk and intellectual vision whenever I take a pencil or a graver into my hand. Wham, bim, thank you, man. We've no use for intellectuals in this outfit. I spat it. What we need is chimpanzees. Let me give you a word of advice, and never say a word as I'm spitting up about haven't you heard to us about being intelligent. Spit, I spat it. We will thank it for you, my friend. Don't forget it. Spit, I spat it. Forever and spit it. We're so different. You're an intellectual. I'm an idiot. Spit, I spat it. Don't say that, I yelled. You're not an idiot. You're a stupid idiot. Spit it, spat it. Forever. Spit it, spat it. Let it. Whoever prefers the material comforts of life over intellectual wealth, spent raps on the shelf, is like the owner of a palace who moves into the servants' quarters and leaves the sumptuous rooms empty, spent readily for all of eternity. Whoever spent never endingly to those who suspect that intellect is a subversive force in society, rap monopoly. It will not do to reply that intellect is really a safe, a bland, wham, bam, thank you, man, and emollient thing. I am in a certain sense of suspicious Tories and militant Philistines. Rhyme are right. Intellect is dangerous, delirious. Why so serious? Let free. There is nothing it will not reconsider. Rapper forever analyze, throw into question, rapid resentment. Let us admit the case of a conservative. John Dewey once wrote, if we once start thinking, no one can guarantee what will be the outcome. Kingdom will come, except that many objects spat ends and institutions will be surely doomed. Span the fruit of the womb. For my rhyming, I rap in a tomb. My apartment, I rhyme in a tomb. Every thinker puts some portion of an apparently stable world in peril. Rhyming about been spent a beware, and no one can wholly predict what will emerge in this place. Rhyming away goes today. Fervor, there is no way of guaranteeing that intellectual class. I got big balls the size of brass that can be given to any community rapidly, slappity, sloppity, floppity is that it will be far worse, haven't you heard, off if it denies the free uses of the power of intellect, rapid I spit insect, than if it permits them to be sure intellectuals contrary to be the fantasies of cultural vigilantes, rhyming never endingly fantasy, a reality are hardly ever subversive of a society as a whole. Spent swallowing my leg hole into the black hole like an egg roll, and my soul hole into the black hole like an egg roll. But intellect is always on the move against something, some oppression, fraud, illusion, dogma, rapping a blah blah, or interest is constantly fallen under the scrutiny of the intellectual class, rap, and becoming the object of exposure, indignation, or ridicule. Spitting a fuel All I know is that the hours are long and constrain us to beguile them with proceedings which may at first sight seem reasonable, wrapping us purple, a snapple, bedazzle until they become a habit. Rapid a spat it. Intellectual freedom begins, rather spitting never ending again. When one says with Socrates, spitting slicker tongue than thee, that he knows nothing, rapping or ending, and then he goes on to add, spitting rap. Do you know? Well, there if I go. What you don't know, and therefore what you should know. Well, there if I go. If you answer it is affirmative and humble, razzle dazzle purple stapple, then you are your own teacher rapper. You are making your own assignment rhyming or Einsteinian, Shakespearean Einsteinian, and you will be your own best critic. Spit it automatic, spat it, and you will not need externally imposed courses, nor marks, nor diplomas, pajama, Bahama, nor a nod from your boss. Spent a blah, tamaha in business or in politics. From the essay, spitting there, and what's up, essay? Spitting away goes today, spitting rapidly, intellectually, genius, IQ, can't you see?